music reminds me of John Cougar Mellencamp. Isn't he a liberal? Anyhow, I don't know, just a random thought on a Tuesday. That's the White House, by the way. Have you heard of it? There's a guy named President Trump there, and he's doing a pretty swell job, as my dad would say. Welcome back, everybody, to American Sunrise. All right, Vice President J.D. Vance is in Israel today. He landed just a few hours ago as the ceasefire between Hamas and Israel holds, at least for now. Both sides accused each other of violating the deal. Israeli officials say aid deliveries into Gaza are now back on. The ceasefire was agreed to a little more than a week ago, as we all know, and President Trump says he wants to make sure it goes peacefully. Well, we'll see about that. For more, let's bring in a former Assistant Secretary of State, a AMAC spokesman, Maine gubernatorial candidate. What else does he do? My goodness, that'd be Bobby Charles. Bobby, great to have you here, as always. So, J.D. Vance, let's get to this for a second. J.D. Vance arrived a few hours ago. Kushner and Steve Witkoff are there as well again. I mean, clearly they're trying to get Netanyahu to stay on board with the ceasefire. I think that's pretty clear. And Netanyahu wants to finish the job. I'm curious to kind of get your geopolitical spidey sense this morning. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, guys. So the nutshell version is and I've been involved in peace accords, if any of these get to this final moment, it's the rubber meeting the road. It's jumping the ice floes to be in the ocean. It's that moment when everything can collapse or everything can come together. And in general, good things take time. They take persistence. I will tell you, in historical context, this is probably the most important inflection point since at least the late 70s, when things were changing, the early to late 70s. I would argue it might even be the most inflection point for the future of the Middle East since 1948. Why? Because if Hamas is either vanquished or completes a transition to being some kind of a peaceful group, which is the ultimate end of this, get the Palestinians and the Israelis and all the Arab world back on one page, then everything the dominoes tip in an utterly different direction. At that point, Iran is no longer in a position, except with Hezbollah, but Hezbollah will also take a message from this. They are no longer in a position of being the master disruptor and able to essentially destroy all potential for Middle East. And what will happen is they will build on the Abrahamic Accords and President Trump's vision, which is that you can put the pieces back together again, will have proved true.
Robert, I want to talk to you about the ongoing war between Russia and Ukraine. In Ukraine, President Trump says that the Donbass region in Ukraine will have to be cut up in order to end the war. Take a look at this clip.
We think that what they should do is just stop at the lines where they are, the battle lines. You have a battle line right now. And the rest is very tough to negotiate. If you're going to say, you take this, we take that, there's so many different permutations. So what I say is they should stop right now at the battle lines. Go home. Stop killing people and be done.
What do you think should happen with the Donbass region?
Let it be cut the way it is. It's cut up right now. I think 78% of the land is already taken by Russia. Leave it the way it is right now. They can negotiate something later on down the line. But I said cut and stop at the battle line. Go home. Stop fighting. Stop killing people.
How do you see this playing out, Robert?
What an incredible human being Donald Trump is, an idealist who is the ultimate realist. And, we haven't had many of those. Reagan was one. Theodore Roosevelt was one. So let's go back to Theodore Roosevelt, 1905. This is the best parallel to what's going on right now. What the president is really saying without saying it is a portion of that land is already Russified. It was Russified before it began. And you can either go on and keep killing people and we can punch more on our side and more on their side, but it probably will not change that line that they are at markedly. So what happened in 1905? Russia was at war with Japan. And in the resolution of that conflict in 1905, the Russo-Japanese War, Russia at that time was in the position of Ukraine, and they had to give up land to Japan in order to end the war. The war ended, and for an extended period of time, there was peace again. And Japan and Russia did not go back at it again for a while. So what does this really mean? It means that he's a realist. He's saying if you want to get this to an end, you have to understand that the perfect is the enemy of the good. and that the good is to end a war that is killing people extensively. And frankly, Theodore Roosevelt did get the Nobel Peace Prize for ending that. He negotiated it right up here, the end of it right here in Maine, actually, down in Kittery. And I would invite the president, if he would like to negotiate the end of this one in Maine, we'd be very happy to have him. But at the end of the day, he is a brilliant strategist who is also a realist and is putting us on track for peace in that region.
Well, Bobby, since you brought up Maine, let's go there. You're obviously running for governor there in the state of Maine. How do you use your State Department chops to help make Maine a little bit stronger? How do you bring those skills in? And it reminds me, you just said a little while ago that you've been party to negotiating peace deals and peace accords in the past. How do you bring those skills to the state of Maine to help turn it red, first of all, and make it better?
You know, I'll be candid with you, Terrence. What a great question. Look, it is I was 10 years and a veteran, and I saw a lot of things in that context. And I was at the State Department, ran a lot of operations there for a long time. And I'll take the being in the room experience and add it to the fact that I grew up here in Maine. So we have conflicts here in Maine that I think have been superimposed on us from outside the state. What I see happening is a lot of out-of-staters came in and stirred the pot. And we have all this woke crap here. We have, frankly, very, very mismanaged economy. And we have a very unsafe economy. I've just called on President Trump to consider putting the National Guard on the streets in one of our counties because it's so unsafe. So at a particular city in Lewiston. So I'll tell you how those chops apply is that I've spent 40 years of my life understanding how you resolve problems, leaning into those problems, both in military uniform and as a civilian. And I think at the end of the day, I guess it's part of my DNA. You guys are journalists. You look for the truth. You're always trying to find the right answer in that context. I'm always trying to find the right answer in a political context, in a policy context. And I think part of this, and maybe the peace negotiation part, is that I think once I win the primary and we're far ahead in that process, I think we have a very good chance of bringing together highly disparate sides, not the extremes, but highly disparate sides in the state of Maine who are frankly done with all of this crap that Janet Mills has delivered in the Democrats. They want safe streets. They want lower taxes so they can live an affordable life. And they frankly want their schools back so that their kids get a good education and don't end up at the bottom rung of the ladder. So all of those things are what I stand for, what I grew up with. I grew up in a little town here of 500 people, and I'm not far from it now. We can get back to those Norman Rockwell values if we resolve to do it and we work for it. And I think that's really where we're going to go here.
Bobby Charles, great to have you. Boy, I tell you what, making waves there in Maine. We'll have you back, obviously, to talk more about that. Reasoned and intellectual. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks, Bobby.
Thank you, guys, all of you.
All right. Coming up, you probably know someone battling arthritis. So here's a question. Is there a new way to treat it? Well, actually, we have new information on an incredible medical breakthrough. That's next on American Sunrise.